Is anti-Mormon podcaster Kara Burrell guilty of political tribalism or motivated reasoning? In other words, hypocrisy. Welcome to the Last Dispensation. You're living in it.
We don't really know where the world is going.
All right, yeah, that's what I'm talking about when it comes to Tim Ballard. It's the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and I think that's what's going on here, folks. Kara Burrell wants to now use the church's platform, and all of a sudden she has moral standards when she tends to throw that out the window when it comes to criticizing the church. Anything and everything she to quoquays Tim Ballard to death. This is hypocrisy. It is the enemy of my enemy is my friend. She's an opportunist. She is anything and everything that the women that have gone against Tim Ballard are, and she's teamed up with Ryan Fisher, and it's horrible. So let's talk about political tribalism, motivated reasoning, and why Kara Burrell, and I hate to mention her because the other day she got so happy that Tim Ballard mentioned her, but why she is a hypocrite from the hilt. A lot of people have unsubscribed from me. A lot of people are saying that I'm not being a peacekeeper.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm keeping the peace. Yep. Right. Well, you too. And you keep the peace as well. Let's all be peacekeepers.
So what do I mean by hypocrisy in her crusade against Tim with her little Timmy did what? It's all crap. I think you're like me, folks. You can't fathom why or how there are people out there in this beautiful blue marble that can lie, can bear false witness, and do it to get gain, even for views or whatever. She goes by Nuance Ho, Kara Burrell. I mentioned her before, and Tim and I are like, we don't want to give her a platform. We're not going to be talking to her much longer, and then we'll just refer to her as, like a lot of people out there. It's anti-Mormonism. It's anti-Latter-day Saintism. That's what it is. But before we get started, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any of my content. And here's a little ditty about the Firm Conference. The Firm Conference is coming up. So go Thursday, speaking on the main stage on the first floor from 4 p.m. to 4:45. So don't miss it. I will also have a booth. Yes, the Firm Foundation featuring the 34th International Book of Mormon Evidence Conference, faithfully exploring relevant LDS topics of our time. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. I hear it's amazing. I've never been to one, but I hear it's simply amazing. And that's October 24th, 25th, and 26th of this year. Venue at the Ranches. That's where it will be at 4118 North Clubhouse Lane, Eagle Mountain, Utah, 84005. I guess that's overlooking a beautiful view of the Saratoga Springs Temple. And there's a golf course there. The Ranches Golf Course, brand spanking new full service event center west of Utah Lake. And it will be amazing. There'll be food, folks, and fun. Nostalgic McDonald's commercial. So Kara Burrell, a former member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know. Has she had her name removed from the records? I'm sure she has by now, but don't quote me on that. I think she has. She's been vocal in her criticism of Tim Ballard. Following recent allegations against him, and on and on and on and on. She's pointed to the church's disavowal of him as evidence supporting her stance. But here's where things get interesting, brothers and sisters, and potentially hypocritical. Like a lot of ex-Latter-day Saints do, they like to point out that the apologists of the church and others that are in the church are the ones that build the straw men that don't stand on a strong argument, that use ad hominem attacks, when it's really the opposite. And you can see it clearly how they project. I've used the term political tribalism, also motivated reasoning, and I'll get into that in a minute. But what's political tribalism? And I could say theological tribalism, even though I don't think she's coming from a theological stance at all. But if you say political tribalism, what that is kind of what Nancy Pelosi and others do, where they align themselves with a particular political group, or in this case, the church. Tara Burrell is attacking Tim by aligning herself with the church because it supports her positions, even if those positions are contradicting her previous stances. So the question remains is, if Nuance Girl rejects these and other church teachings, why suddenly embrace the church's stance on Tim Ballard? If that's the church's stance at all, we don't really know that. It's not clear. And we've made that clear in the past. Is this a case of convenient belief? It's convenient for her. And there's no proof. There's no substance. There's no smoking guns. There is absolutely nothing. Yet these people stand on that. And go back to Hurlbut, one of the first anti-Mormons, where it's all hearsay. It's second and third hand accounts, and then eventually resorts to ad hominem. And it does, where there's nothing else left but to call names. So the question remains, and here are some specific ways. Selective belief in church statements. Carol Burrell, as a former member who now opposes many church teachings, appears to be selectively embracing the church's stance on Tim Ballard when it aligns with her criticism of him. Selective belief in church statements. She's a former member of the church and opposes all of the teachings of the church. I'd say 99% of them. And then appears to be selectively embracing the church's stance on issues and using that. And even though Tim isn't guilty of breaking these things, there's no proof of that, but she'll use that against him when it aligns with her criticisms of him. This is hypocritical, given her general opposition to the church's positions. Her apparent selective acceptance of the request for comment, which we don't even know, Vice could have embellished that as well. And let's just say it is a statement from middle management on him, could be seen as hypocritical because she is embracing the church's position when it aligns with her criticisms, despite her general opposition to the church's teachings and authority. The church's statement, issued through spokesperson Doug Anderson, denounced Tim as morally unacceptable and his activities and unauthorized use of President M. Russell Ballard's name for personal advantage. Now, we know that's not true. Hopefully, Tim's going to get to the bottom of that, but don't quote me on that. And I mean legally. I hope he does. But Burrell's willingness to use this statement and support an apostle, right, when she normally doesn't, M. Russell Ballard's name for personal advantage. It also stated that the church never endorsed or supported Ballard or his organizations. Tara's willingness to use this statement as support for her criticisms of Tim, while typically rejecting church statements on moral issues or disavowing its authority in other matters, could be viewed as inconsistent, wouldn't you say? Very inconsistent. So what I'm doing here, this isn't necessarily about Tim and her not having proof of anything, which she doesn't. That's one thing. But just the hypocrisy. In other words, you're going to see people like this go after, they're the left. The anti-Mormons and the left are not any different. They're no different. They come from the same group, the same guys, the third of the hosts of heaven that were kicked out. They might as well, they're aligned with that. And I'm not going to ever redact what I just said about that. That is true. The left is evil, and they are evil, and they will attack and use any stance they can to support their baseless narratives. So her willingness to use this statement, it's inconsistency, right? Because she goes against the church all the time. This is what's called selective acceptance of church authority, only when it suits her narrative. This is opportunistic. This is contradictory. To use her stance, church teachings and leadership most of the time, and then flipping it around and using it to her advantage. And probably would never deny it. These people get to the point in their lives where they look you in the eye and go, yeah, I'm evil, and I don't care. This is hate. The definition for political tribalism is you align yourself with a particular group and you support its positions, even those positions that contradict your previous stances. It's like motivated reasoning, the tendency to find arguments in favor of conclusions we want to believe and to reject arguments that we don't want to believe. This suits her drive, her hunger, her evil craving for an immediate goal, an immediate outcome. It's lazy investigative reporting. It's not, there's no investigating at all. You know, it makes me sick because I look at her, I look at Ryan and this quasi discourse of like, what are you doing? One of these people are going to look at each other one day and go, you know, this isn't working. I guarantee you that will happen. If not already, they're going to quit this Timmy did what thing. But what's going on is they're faced with a common enemy. And Kara thinks that the church's common enemy with her is Tim, but it's not. Because we're starting to find out that this didn't come from anybody at the top. What about her moral standards? She's rejected many of the church's moral codes since leaving the church. And then she turns around and criticizes Tim, alleging moral failings that could be viewed definitely as inconsistent from her, with her own departure from the church, without any proof that anything like that has happened. These people cry that they have not been treated fair and balanced by the church, and then turn around and not treat somebody fair and balanced and give them due process. How do you see through that, Kara Burrell? So you're basically just attacking Tim Ballard because he is a member of the church and loves the Constitution, loves God, loves freedom. He's a heartlander. He's he's middle America, flag waving middle American Mormon. And that is your reason. And that's the only reason. Because I guarantee you folks, no matter how much we come out with the proof, these people will not stop with their craving for LDS flesh. I guarantee you. For the innocent. You see, the hypocrisy lies, brothers and sisters, when it comes to a moral standard even. How do you align with something you don't adhere to anymore? My point is, how do you use the church as a credible source when it's obvious that you're only doing that to suit a narrative? while dismissing or criticizing church statements on other matters. That, brothers and sisters, is opportunistic. That is contradictory. Let me give you an example. She had an Instagram post titled, "Why is everyone bashing Tim Ballard?" where she compiled and simplified information from investigative journalists to criticize Tim's actions and OUR's practices. And what she does is she amplifies the criticism that align with the church's positions, and then selectively using church-aligned critics, despite, once again, her stance against church influence. But here's the biggest thing, brothers and sisters, that I wanted to talk about, just real quick. She gobbles up every juicy allegation against Tim. Sexual misconduct, money shenanigans, the whole 9 yards, right? Right. She is spreading this stuff faster than wildfire. There's no questions about that. But here's the plot twist. When it comes to her progressive pals or the secular squad that she rolls with, suddenly she's got trust issues. Okay. It's kind of like she's wearing skepticism goggles. I kid you not. Demanding receipts for every little claim. That is double standard talk, brothers and sisters. It's like she's got one rule book for Tim and a whole different one for other people, for her homies. So here's the kicker. She's out there promoting all this dirt on Tim Ballard and the church. But the moment someone drops a hint about her own crew and problems, boom, defensive mode activated. She's demanding more proof than a courtroom drama, brothers and sisters. And there's nothing. So, in a nutshell, I'm going to end right here. Here's what I was getting at, okay? What's the $1 million question when it comes to anti-Mormons like her and people and the critics of Tim Ballard that just go on and on with nothing? And the attorneys, Rasmussen and Mortensen, and the women. They're serving up a piping hot dish of hypocrisy because they have no proof that Tim did anything. Yet it's called projecting. These people do the things that they're projecting upon others. And then cherry pick facts based on their own biases as far as these podcasters are concerned. And supporting media bias only when the media is supporting her stance, but not when it supports anything about the church. What about what the church reports on? I know this isn't rocket science, folks, and I understand it's kind of a duh, Troy, duh. But the deep waters get murky when you are a hypocrite when it comes to faith, morality, and public discourse. When you open a Pandora's box, like Sasha and others that we're going to talk about, when you're a podcaster that has nothing to back you up, and and when the truth starts to come out, you will see these people start to chase their tails, and then they go away. They digress, or they get canceled because people catch on to their, and then there's this, like I said, a Pandora's box of questions about consistency, belief, and the cherry picking of what suits your narrative. Brothers and sisters, this is about you and me and everyone. In these days, this can happen to you. You've got people over here on the right side. I don't mean politically, but on the right side, the correct side, that want authenticity and consistency always, and truth. That is the believer vibe, brothers and sisters. That is the good person. And then you have people over here that will constantly want their ears tickled and will ride that wave of skepticism. And they'll continue to follow people like this person that I'm talking about. If we're not speaking integrity, which is the universal language of goodness and wholesomeness, then we just have nothing coming out of us. Nothing. So brothers and sisters, take a hard look in the mirror, because it's not just about anti-Mormon podcasters and people that spew lies about Tim. It's about people that we associate ourselves with too and align ourselves with. Brothers and sisters, I know that I've been putting out a lot of racy things. Racy.
Not racist.
But racy, meaning indecent, what you might think is indecent or improper or unchristlike. It's not. We're defending a human being here that does good things, and he's defending his name so that he can continue to do good things. Anyway, if you'd like to support the channel, folks, you could do so through Venmo, Cash App, PayPal, or Zelle. That's how I get everything I need to continue to do what I do. That's how I'm traveling to Utah in October to speak at the Firm Conference and many other things. Brothers and sisters, if you want to be a member of the program, you can do it by hitting join, the join button. If you'd like to donate another way, you can hit the thanks button right there. I've also got merch. So we've got hoodies, brothers and sisters. The cold weather is coming up. Get your hoodie. Where's Captain Moroni when you need him? Or a CTR hoodie, whatever. All different kinds of colors, different kinds of hoodies. And you can get everything in a t-shirt, a hoodie, or whatever. Anyway, thank you so much. God bless. Do what is right and let the consequences follow.